Welcome to this demo of Easy Agile TeamRhythm. In this video, I'll walk you through how Easy Agile TeamRhythm provides you and your team the context you need to plan and prioritize with confidence and to deliver value to your customers. Like all Easy Agile apps, Easy Agile TeamRhythm is a native app that sits within Jira alongside your team board. For each Agile board in Jira, TeamRhythm provides you with two views. The first is a story map view to visualize and manage the work of the team. And the second is a retrospective board view with the space and structure to turn insights into action and continuously improve. This easy-to-use plugin enables the Agile practices that help you and your team do your best work together right inside Jira. From managing your backlog and planning an upcoming sprint or version, to user story mapping and facilitating team retrospectives. Easy Agile TeamRhythm is a single tool for your team to plan, build, and learn. Let's take a closer look at these use cases and how the features of Easy Agile TeamRhythm supports them. As a team in Jira, you'll be very familiar with the backlog. A flat product backlog is one of the most common practices in Agile software development. It's here we find a list of things to do that will ultimately provide value to our customer. We've all seen a backlog like this, we've all contributed to them, and likely gotten lost in them. These items on our backlog are prioritized top to bottom in the order the value will be delivered. If we're practicing Scrum, the backlog is split into future sprints to provide an indication of what will be delivered and when. The backlog is intended to create, prioritize, and select work for development. But bigger is not better when it comes to the backlog. You might have 10 actionable things to be done, or you might have 100, 1,000, or more. This is where the user story map in TeamRhythm steps in. Easy Agile TeamRhythm has two views, the user story map and the retrospectives board. Easy Agile TeamRhythm is an extension to each team's Agile board in Jira, and will work for all Scrum or Kanban boards that sit in Jira software projects. To put it simply, once Easy Agile TeamRhythm is installed, every board in your Jira instance will have access to their own user story map and retrospective board by default. If we're starting with a completely blank story map and unsure how to form the backlog, the practice of user story mapping can help to create or set up a story map view. This view helps the team to focus on delivering value based on what your users want to achieve with your product. User story mapping is a visualization and a holistic understanding of the journey a customer takes with our product, from beginning to end. It includes all the tasks and steps your customers would typically complete as part of that journey. Before we dive into how to use the story map for sprint planning and backlog refinement, we're going to explore how the Jira data you may be used to seeing on the backlog is presented on the user story map. Lining the top of the user story map are your team's Jira epics that appear on your backlog. The Jira epics are ordered left to right based on their ranking in your team's backlog. Beneath each of the Jira epics from your team board are the Jira issues that live on your team's backlog. The Swimlanes that appear on the user story map are the sprints from your team's backlog. For Kanban teams, you'll see the version from the Jira project your board lives within. The estimation statistics displayed on the Swimlane are pulled directly from the estimation statistics configured for your team's board. If your team have configured story points, for example, the story map would show story points. On the story map view, you can visualize up to 4 levels of issue hierarchy from a third level of hierarchy to subtasks on your issues. The third level of hierarchy on the story map is an optional extra layer of initiatives above your epics that help your team and stakeholders understand the scope of work and how the features being worked on now contribute to the broader product vision. You can nominate the project, issue type, and link type that determines the relationships between the issues you nominate for this layer and the epics on the board. Now you understand the story map view, it's from here you can create new epics, issues, sprints and versions directly on the story map, with the confidence that all changes made on the user story map are reflected on your team's Agile board in Jira in real time. Conversely, any changes made on the team's board in Jira will also automatically be reflected here. The data sync is two-way and in real time, so there is always a single source of truth in your story map. In order to be able to deliver value to our customers, we need to take an important step first, and that is to refine our backlog. Backlog refinement is when the product manager and their team review items on the backlog, ensuring it only contains appropriate items ordered by priority and that the items on top of the backlog are ready for delivery. The outcome we want to achieve is that we can easily identify the work that should come next and what it involves. The result? Sprint planning doesn't take as long. So how do we refine our backlog in Easy Agile TeamRhythm? During backlog refinement, we want to be able to refine our user stories so that they contain enough detail for the team to understand them, create new user stories in response to newly discovered needs that have come up in the sprint or from our customer insights, reassess the priorities of our stories to make sure the most important is at the top, break down high priority user stories, and estimate our issues and correct estimations based on our capacity. The good news is this is all easy to do in Easy Agile TeamRhythm. A word of caution with a backlog refinement session is that it could take a number of hours and you'd never be done. For this reason, it's important to set a goal for your refinement session. For example, you might look at what remains to be done to meet your current sprint or iteration goals, or what may be coming up next. A helpful feature on our story map view is the ability to apply filters to focus our view. A focused refinement session starts with a focused story map. By clicking on the Filters panel, we can apply a number of combinations to filter our view of our third-level hierarchy, epics, or issues. This can include filtering by component or filtering by status, and additionally, we can apply quick filters, assignees, persona, and importance to persona for epic and user story level issue filtering. For example, a component might represent new features, tech debt, or for the purpose of this ceremony, a needs refinement component, which allows us to really focus the story map on the tickets that need more work. This helps to avoid duplicates or avoid grooming any tickets that are no longer needed or won't be attempted, saving time in the process. Once we've created a filter, we can save it as a view from the same panel. Saving a view means it can be accessed quickly and easily in the future, and we can share this view with our teammates or stakeholders. Saved views can also be edited or deleted. If we don't want to apply a filter, simply click Clear Filters from the Filters menu or Default View from the Saved Views menu. Easy Agile TeamRhythm allows you to control how much or how little detail you wish to be working with on the story map. To create or refine user stories, we can understand what is involved in the ticket from the details on the issue card. Each issue card displays the title, assignee, issue key, story point estimate, and issue type. You can choose to display up to 3 additional Jira fields on each card. To do so, click on the ellipsis menu, then Card Settings, and choose which fields you'd like displayed. This allows you to see more detail at a glance without needing to open the issue view. If you need to tweak the issue description, you can easily inline edit. To add additional detail to the user story, you can click on the issue key to open this issue view. Here you can add details to the description, choosing to add comments, attachments, or other helpful information, just as you could if you navigated to this view in your Jira backlog, but without needing to leave the story map. Lastly, you can also quick create a new issue right here on the story map, opting for it to be a user story, task, or bug. We can easily understand which epic our issue will relate to depending on the columns on the story map and where we create it. The key purpose of our backlog refinement session is to reassess our priorities. The story map view in Easy Agile TeamRhythm provides a more helpful view than the flat backlog by providing us more context to prioritize. Not only are we able to prioritize from top to bottom, as we would on the Jira backlog, but we are able to do that for the work as it relates to a specific epic. We can easily reorder issue priority via drag and drop. If we have issues scheduled in a sprint on our backlog in Jira, but these currently aren't linked to an epic, we can do this by simply opening up our backlog and dragging and dropping an issue directly onto our story map and under an epic. For issues already linked to an epic, we can access our backlog from the bottom swim lane of our story map. By clicking on the ellipsis, we can choose to remove an issue from an epic or schedule it into a sprint through quick actions. Quick actions can help us if we have issues scheduled in our sprint that no longer are priority or that we have capacity for. We can choose to send these issues to another sprint or to the top or bottom of our backlog. To further refine our stories, we find that some of our customers like to use our subtasks feature. This helps to lift some of the details out of our ticket and more easily and quickly understand what's involved. To create a new issue or subtask, click on the vertical ellipsis menu and quick create a subtask for stories that need to be broken down further. To round out our backlog refinement, we want to be able to estimate our work and understand the effort involved. To do this, we can easily inline estimate our issues. As we can see, the total estimates are updated in each swim lane as we update our tickets. If we move our work in and out of the swim lane, the estimate totals in each swim lane will update, making it easier to keep an eye on team commitment. Remember, all changes we've made here on the story map to our issues and our backlog are reflected and synced in real time on our backlog in Jira. The data we're seeing here is the same data in our Jira backlog because these issues belong to the same Agile board in Jira. Once we're happy with the level of detail on the backlog and issues yet to be delivered, we're ready for sprint planning. Don't forget, you can share this view with your team so everyone can understand the details and priorities and plan together. Sprint or release planning is a key Agile ceremony in a team's Agile cycle. Our objective is to align our team around a goal for our next sprint or iteration by agreeing on a set of backlog items. We want our backlog items to contribute to reaching our sprint or release goal and to be achievable within the time frame. In our backlog refinement video, we looked at many of the features relevant for sprint planning, given that preparation during backlog refinement is key for successful sprint planning. To recap, this included filtering and saving views to focus your view of the story map, the ability to create or link existing issues to epics, the drag and drop feature to help you prioritize, estimations to help us understand how much effort is required, and subtasks to help us lift details out of tickets, further refine our stories, and understand what's involved. When it comes to sprint planning, the user story map view in Easy Agile TeamRhythm provides us more context than the Jira backlog about what we need to work on to deliver value to our customers and how we will deliver it. With our backbone of epics along the top, easy access to our backlog on the bottom, and a level of detail easily visible on our individual stories, we can more easily understand and identify what's most important. Our swim lanes on the story map provide an extra dimension to our backlog that groups our work by sprint or versions, just like our epic columns group our stories under epics. The swim lanes help us to understand exactly what we'll deliver and when. In this example, we're planning a sprint for our Scrum team, so our swim lanes are set to sprint swim lanes. These can be version swim lanes for Kanban teams. To focus on our active sprint swim lane, we can collapse past or future swim lanes to focus our view. To align our team, to help them stay focused, and to have a shared understanding of what value we're delivering this sprint, we can set a sprint goal. Setting a sprint goal is a great way to provide a focal point for the team and to keep them on track throughout the sprint planning ceremony and the sprint itself. When we add a sprint goal to our sprint in Easy Agile TeamRhythm, it's an easy and visible reference point. Over on the right side of the swim lane, we can see the total estimation for our issues by status. As we move issues in and out of the swim lane, the estimate totals will update, making it easier to keep an eye on team commitment. Now that we have our story map set up for sprint planning sessions, we can return to the backlog to consider what we'll bring into the next sprint. Having completed our backlog refinement, we are able to see any of our user stories, tasks, or bugs in order of priority beneath our epics. Using our sprint goal or goals as our guide, we'll select issues of highest priority and move them into our sprint. This can be done by simple drag and drop or by right-clicking the issue to open quick actions. Another best practice here is to use our components or quick filters to ensure we're not overcommitting to a particular area of work. For example, our team may have a capacity allocation of 20% to technical debt, 60% to feature work, 20% to bug and performance fixes. We can apply these filters to ensure we're bringing this balance into our sprint. Remember, if our user story is too large and needs to be broken down further, we can easily add subtasks or create new issues through Quick Create. If estimates need to be adjusted, we can inline edit this and check on our team commitment in the swim lane. Once we're happy with our plan for the sprint, we can start the sprint from the user story map as well. Remember, all changes and actions we take on the story map view are reflected and synced back on our Jira backlog in real time. Our story map view is helpful not only for sprint planning and backlog refinement, but our ability to filter our epics or stories by task status or assignee also make it a helpful place to check on progress throughout the sprint during our team stand-ups. We can easily see which tasks are still in progress or those that have been completed. If in the event that our team completes more than originally planned, it's easy to access the next most important issues on our backlog. Once a sprint is completed, and before kicking off planning again, it's important to review what the team has accomplished in the previous sprint or iteration. It's a great way to remind the team of the journey we're on and connect the dots by providing clarity of how the work that's being delivered in the sprint connects to the bigger picture. When it comes to celebrating what the team has achieved, this is where our Retrospectives view can help, which we'll cover in the next video. Our second view in TeamRhythm is our retrospective board. Retrospectives are an important Agile ceremony to help teams better understand how they're working together. They're an opportunity to learn from each other, to celebrate wins, raise issues, and to share ideas for how to do things better next time. Easy Agile TeamRhythm makes sure retrospectives aren't an afterthought, but instead a part of a team's agile rhythm and continuous improvement. You can navigate to the retrospective board from the Jira sidebar menu on the left or from the Retrospective tab in the header from the story map view. Just like we have a one-to-one relationship between our Agile board and our story map, each of your sprints will automatically have a retrospective board created. By default, your team will see a retrospective board for their active sprint on their backlog. However, you can also select an active or historic sprint from your backlog to conduct a retrospective. Kanban teams can create a retro board as needed, for example, at the completion of the delivery of a piece of work. The TeamRhythm Retrospective Board is designed to be a hub for collecting and collating your learnings and ideas for improvement. The Retrospective Board uses a start, stop, continue model by default. However, you can customize the heading of each column. Under the Bling template button at the top, you are also able to add and customize an additional column depending on your retrospective format. You can also choose to select another template for your retrospective to keep them interesting. In this example, we'll apply the Get Rhythm template, which is based on the 4 L's of retrospective: loved, learned, loathed, and longed for. We can now see we have some colour, but we also have different prompts. Now we're talking about what things have had us singing along and thinking about what new loops could make us a hit. Framing the retro differently will generate some ideas. Keep checking back to see when new templates get released. Another key element to preparing our retrospectives board is to configure retro permissions, allowing only those with permissions to access the retro board. Psychological safety is really important to create a space for teams to discuss ideas and raise concerns freely. Best practice retrospectives should only involve those in the team. This permissions feature allows the retro to be locked to just the team to create that safe space to share learnings. Adding a retrospective item is the same experience as adding a user story to our story map. When creating an item, you can opt to create it anonymously if you wish. We can also inline edit our retro item to add a description. As retro items get added, others in the team can interact with these in a number of ways. By adding a comment to give more context or detail, by creating an action item, by adding an emoji reaction to indicate sentiment, by upvoting or downvoting the item, and by adding a category to indicate a theme or group the retro items. We can also opt to send the retro action item to a different column. To kick off our retro, a best practice tip is to gauge the mood and energy of the team. Depending on how the team is feeling, we might adjust our retro. It may mean we reduce our retro time or focus on certain items to match the energy. Taking the mood of the team can also help to indicate if the practice of retrospectives is improving our team's mood each sprint. It's also really important that we hold the attention of the team and keep the conversation productive for the retro. Having an agreed length or polling the team can help to set a productive amount of time for our retro. Setting a time box is easy to do in TeamRhythm with our timer feature. If we need to keep things shorter but discussion spills over, we can opt to take things offline or create a parking lot to return to. The visibility of the timer for everyone in the team helps to keep the team to time. As mentioned, we might adjust the focus of our retro depending on the team's energy or time we have. We can do this by opting to sort or filter our retro board. For example, We may want to discuss just items relating to collaboration or ways of working as a priority. This feature is also really helpful to surface insights around trends and themes that are emerging. Is our team spending a lot of time discussing tooling or processes each week? This is one way to identify if there are things getting in the way of the team that we may need to bubble up and address. As we've already shared, retrospectives are an important space for your team to come together to share learnings, celebrate wins, and reflect. But those learnings and ideas for improvement need to be applied if we're to continuously improve. This is where Easy Agile TeamRhythm is really powerful because your team can complete the feedback loop by ensuring those insights being surfaced are getting turned into action. Remember, the TeamRhythm retrospective board is linked to your team's Agile board in Jira and, of course, your story map. From our retrospectives board, not only can we note down an action item right here on the board, but we can also convert it to a Jira issue, select its issue type, link it to an epic, and schedule it into a sprint. Returning to our story map, we can now see that this issue is scheduled in our sprint in the corresponding epic column. From the retrospectives board, we are also able to create and schedule an action item directly from the retro item itself. Scheduling our retro item as a Jira issue gives us the best chance of us taking action. But what happens if we don't? Easy Agile TeamRhythm surfaces action items created in the previous retro that were not completed. This includes those converted into Jira issues but with a status that is not yet done. Being able to see if we haven't taken action on our retro items ensures we are getting the most value from our retro by translating our team's insights into tangible action to help us continuously improve. Thanks for taking the time to learn more about Easy Agile TeamRhythm and how it can provide you and your team the context you need to plan and prioritize with confidence. By being able to see what's most important to your customers through the visibility and context of the story map, to having the confidence to plan with estimated and refined issues, and to execute with a sprint goal in mind, your team really is set up for success to deliver value to your customers. Having a dedicated space to share wins, learnings, and insights with a retrospective board means your team is set up to have fruitful retrospective discussions where they can continuously improve and make each sprint or version better than the last. In a nutshell, Easy Agile TeamRhythm is a native app that sits right inside Jira, a single tool to help your team plan, build, and learn. If you'd like to try out the latest version for Easy Agile TeamRhythm for yourself, you can do so with no installation via our demo sandbox. Or of course, you're welcome to get started with a free trial of Easy Agile TeamRhythm via the Atlassian Marketplace, where you can see how it can transform your product backlog. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to myself or the Easy Agile team at hello@easyagile.com. We look forward to hearing from you.